Welcome to episode 49 of the Making Stories podcast. Today is apparently off to a great start. So let's see what's waiting for us this week, this podcast episode. I'm Hannah-Lisa, your host for today, and always here on the Making Stories channel on YouTube. Thank you so much for coming back or checking us out if you're a new viewer. Here at Making Stories, we're an online yarn shop with a focus on sustainably produced yarns and notions, and we also have a knitting magazine that we publish twice a year, Making Stories magazine. And this lovely little corner of YouTube is where I share what's on my needles and, share some shop news and shop updates. If you are brand new and you're like, who's this person and what does she have to do with Making Stories? So I'm the CEO and the owner of Making Stories. I have a fabulous, delightfully tiny team that's working with me on, getting you all of the really, really good sustainable yarns and making our patterns as good as they can be. So it's not just me alone, but here for today, it's sort of like a mashup of what we're doing as a company and also what's on my needles, because I just really enjoy, knitting and also hearing what other people have on their needles. Let's just throw this in. Do let me know what you're currently knitting. Leave a comment down below, because I'm always curious. I just love everything about knitting. I love the yarns, but I also really love exploring patterns, and so I'm always looking for new and exciting patterns and designers that I might not have heard of and yarns that I might not have heard of. So if you want to share what's on your needles, I'd love to hear it. Let me just quickly check whether it's actually recording. It is. Yay. So today's podcast episode, we're going to talk about knitting, and I've brought 3 projects that I want to share with you, including an FO that I just finished this morning. And then I want to talk a little bit about something that I purchased that I have knitting plans for, which I'm really excited about. And then we're going to close things today with a little section on shop news, and we're going to talk about bees, because they'll be coming to the shop on April 28th. Brand new yarn. Really excited about it. Brand new. Not just to us brand new, but generally brand new. Which, so cool. So yeah. But I want to start with what's actually on my needles, or in this case, off my needles. And I think I'm going to call this episode Seasonally Appropriate Knitting, because these are decidedly not seasonally appropriate knitting. I am based in Berlin, Germany, where we've just had the first magical spring days. I'm recording this on a Monday, and we've had brilliant weather on the weekend, especially Friday and Saturday was over 20 degrees, and it was glorious and warm, and there was sun, and the plants are exploding. So we have a chestnut tree in the courtyard of the apartment house, or backyard of the apartment house that we live in. And every spring, when there are a few days in a row where there's a little bit of rain, but then there's a lot of sun during the day, you can watch the leaves grow. One of these days, maybe next year, I'll remember to set up a time-lapse video for that, because I think it's just brilliant. So I spent the weekend outside. Friday, spent a lot of time outside, and then Saturday we went to the garden market and got new plants for our balcony, and had a little belated birthday celebration in the afternoon and evening, because it was my birthday last week, and that was really, really nice. And then yesterday, Sunday, David, my partner, took Oren, our kid, out for a play date on the playground in the afternoon, and I just potted all of the plants in the balcony, cleaned everything up, and it's so nice. It was so nice just spending a few hours outside. Like, it wasn't super sunny, but it was just really nice, you know, like I love planting things. I'm getting better at helping the plants stay alive. Yeah, I am enthusiastic about balcony gardening. Let's say that. Not yet very good, but I have hopes. We have cucumbers and tomatoes and strawberries this year, and just lots of flowers because I love them. Okay, I'm completely digressing from these, which are actually two finished objects that I wanted to share with you. These are the holding hands mittens. It's a pattern by our wonderful Claire Walls, who used to work with us here at Making Stories for quite a long time. She wrote this pattern for a digital collection, an ebook that we put out in 2018, which is called Making Stories and Friends. And it has a collection of patterns that are designed to work for everybody. And also that are designed to be quite easily modifiable. And one of the accessory patterns are the holding hands mittens that come in 3 different variations. So you have the full mittens, the ones that I made, but there's also an option to make fingerless mittens, and a 3rd variation that adds a flat to the fingerless mittens, so that you can wear them, you know, as mittens or as fingerless mittens. I decided to knit the just, you know, plain mitten version because I wanted something simple and pretty mindless to just work on this gorgeous yarn. I wanted a sample in this yarn, and I'm really, really happy with these. In terms of construction, they are worked from the cuff, and you can decide whether you want to do a longer cuff that you can wear folded up. That's what I chose, or a shorter cuff. And I always really like folded cuffs because I just find that they keep my wrists a lot warmer, and I'm gonna wear them for like the bike rides when I take Orin to daycare and such. And it's always, you know, like you're riding a bike, your jacket rides up the arm a little bit, you need cozy, warm wrists. And then you work the body of the mitten in garter stitch, add a thumb gusset here, and then the top of the mitten is knit and stockinette for the decreases. And I just really like the different textures here. So 2x2 ribbing, garter, and then stockinette for the thumb and the top of the mitten. When you're done with when you're done here, then you just pick up the stitches for the thumb and knit the thumb, and it's a really quick knit. So because I really wanted them finished to show you on this podcast. Yesterday morning I was here, so I had finished the cuff, but over the course of 2 episodes of Shadow and Bone, which I'm just now watching, so I read all of the books. And I had to give it a little bit of time until I actually watched the series, and I think I'm hooked. So over the course of a little bit of like Duplo building in the morning with Orin, and then 2 episodes of Shadow and Bone, and then another half hour this morning, I finished the rest of the mitten. So I can show you. I think they fit really, really nicely. It's funny because I knit the size 1 for me. The pattern comes graded to 3 different sizes, which fits really well. But there's definitely a gauge change. Like the mitten that I knit first is a lot looser than the mitten that I knit now, which is fine. Like it's garter, it's stretchy, it's okay. And the other thing that I noticed, but honestly, like this morning, but for the life of me, I couldn't read this mitten, the one that I had worked first, anymore. I know that I had not done the crown decreases here correctly, but I couldn't really read how I did it. So this feels a little bit roomier than this, and same for the thumb, but that's okay, it's fine. like they're mittens, and I'm actually not sure if I'm gonna block them or if I'm just gonna wear them as they are. I'm kind of curious to see how the yarn blooms after blocking, because I think it's gonna bloom really, really well. So I might just do that. So let's talk a little bit about the yarn. The yarn is one of the really small batch yarns that I'm so excited that we get to carry. So my aim with our shop is that we have a really good mix of, larger companies, still sustainably produced, but like, for example, commercially dyed yarns, and then also yarns from indie dyers, from small yarn companies who are doing like farm to needle yarns and such, so that you can get everything that you want to get from one shop, which is us. And this yarn is one that falls into the small batch category. It's done by my friend Emma from Woolly Mammoth Fibre Co., who lives in Northern Ireland. And she sourced fleeces of blue-texel and Zwartbles sheep from a single flock that lives about 10 miles from her home, sent them off to Wales and had them spun up into a woolen spun 2-ply yarn, which is simply called Woolly Mammoth Fibre Co. Zwartbles blue-texel 4-ply. So it's a 4-ply, so fingering weight yarn. Oh, there we go. And it has this, it doesn't show up super well on camera. Let me see if I can show you these a bit more. So you can see here that it's this really gorgeous dark chocolatey brown interspersed with light gray flecks. And it's really delightful. It's like almost what you would call for sheep, like a natural black. So the natural black is actually a really deep dark brown. And yeah, I just love it. I think it's great. It's definitely really warm. Emma has made a beautiful beret in it. I know that a customer of ours has plans of making a sweater in it. So although, like mittens are not super seasonal appropriate, I really needed a pair of mittens and I wanted something in that yarn. So I made a pair of mittens, and now they're gonna go away into, the lavender sachet closet for safekeeping until it's cold enough to wear them. We still do have some of that yarn in stock, so just in case you were wondering, you can get some of that. Okay, still recording. That's like my nightmare scenario, because that has happened before. Like, I'm recording an entire episode and then at some point, it stops recording. Like, it used to happen when, now the way that I'm recording is my camera is directly connected to my laptop. So the audio and the video is directly saved onto the laptop. Previously, I would record to memory card. And then most cameras have like a 20-minute limit. And so after 20 minutes, it automatically stops recording. You have to remember to start again. It's a big hassle. This is much better. Onwards. I made a lot of progress on my Blossom Tee, which is my current project from our latest issue 9, which is completely sold out in print with us. I think there are some stockists who still have print copies, and you can always get the digital version from us. I am making this t-shirt by Ayano Tanaka, and I've made really good progress on this since I last saw you. Me too. So the t-shirt is a pretty cropped, boxy shape with short sleeves that are drop shoulder sleeves. So you work them at the same time as you work. Like, you don't pick up any sleeve stitches afterwards, essentially. You work them because you can also do that for drop sleeves, but that's not the way that this is being done. You work them at the same time as the rest. It's knit in pieces, so you knit a back piece and a front piece, and then you seam them, and then you pick up the neckline. I have finished the back piece. Yay! Which was really delightful to knit. Here you can see what I mean with the sleeve. So that's the sleeve. So you knit it bottom up. You start with this lovely lacy hem, and then introduce the lace panels that are running on the left and on the right. In the middle, it's soothing stockinette. And then when you've worked to a certain length, you cast on a few stitches and you start knitting the sleeve. And then at the top, there is some really clever short row shaping and back neckline shaping that's done at the same time. It's not complicated at all. You just follow the pattern instructions, which I found to be really clear. And then you're done in no time. And because I know myself, if I don't immediately cast on the second thing of anything, be it socks or mittens or something like this, the second that I finish this, I cast on the front piece. Oops. Now, yeah, great, Hannah-Lisa. Stuck in the middle of a row. That's how we do it. So I haven't worked on this in the last maybe like 4 or 5 days, but I've finished the hem and I'm about halfway through the first lace repeat. I think I knit 5 lace repeats for the back, and yeah, there's hope that I have at least one new summer t-shirt this summer, because I keep falling into this trap where, you know, it gets warmer and I'm like, ooh, I should really cast something on to wear this summer. And then it's like done by the end of August or something. So I'm really happy that, you know, the Grassland Tee is progressing nicely, and I'm super excited because I can't wait to wear it. I should probably also just talk a little bit about the yarn. Like, what is this even? I am knitting this in the yarn that Ayano used for her design, which is a yarn base called Cumbria by a German yarn company named Pascuali. That's all about creating sustainable yarns. And for this yarn, they blended some bamboo viscose with cotton. And it's a lovely sport weight, really round, beautiful yarn, and it feels like butter. Like last year I knit with a linen cotton blend. That was really squeaky, and this isn't like that. Like, it's really smooth and really nice, and I really like it. I'm kind of thinking maybe of stocking it for the summer next year. We'll see. If you'd like that, let me know. You know, because obviously I want to make sure that we stock things that you want. The colorway that I'm using is called Neptune. It's this really beautiful teal, which I really like. And it's living in one of my trusted Hide and Hammer project bags. The other project that I've been working on that I want to show you is my Grassland t-shirt. That is from our issue 6. It's a pattern by Susan Schädler, and it's also a drop shoulder short sleeve t-shirt, but with a different construction. That one is knit top down and seamlessly. So it's quite interesting, you know, to be knitting something that with the sort of like end result or the general description of the construction is the same, but it's done in 2 entirely different ways. The Grassland Tee in pieces, bottom up, and the Grassland Tee in one piece seamlessly from the top down. That one is also living in one of my Hide and Hammer project bags. I think I showed you this one in my last podcast episode. And also in the last podcast episode, I shared the swatch with you. And I said that I was gonna knit it on the smaller needles, but I actually decided to go with the larger needles because when I looked at the swatches again, I like the drape of the larger needles a lot better. So yeah. It doesn't look like very much yet. So this is just like, this is the back. So this here, this bit, the cast on edge, that's going to be the neck at the back and the shoulders. Yeah, and I am right now, there's short row shaping, which you can't really see because that, well, it just rolls. But I'm right now working on like a little bit more stockinette until I reach the armholes, and then I'm gonna turn this entire thing upside down and pick up stitches here to knit one of the fronts, and then pick up stitches here on the other side of the back to knit the other front, and knit those until they're at the armholes, and then the entire thing will be combined and you knit in the round. So that's another way that you can do, you know, top down, like drop shoulder construction. Yeah, there's not, honestly, there's not that much to say about it right now, other than that I really enjoy working with this yarn. I'm knitting this in Rerum Natura's Antigone, which is a 100% French linen sport weight yarn. The colorway that I'm using is called Marsala. And this is a really, really, really nice yarn. Like, I mean, I love linen anyways, because you can just throw anything that you've knit with linen into the washing machine and it's just going to get better with each wash, like softer, and it's just great, and it's really nice for summer, you know, because it's breathable. Yeah, I just really like it. And usually pure linen yarns are really quite thin. This isn't. So this is, as I said, a sport weight yarn made up of 10 strands, individual strands, like really thin strands that are twisted together. And the flax for this linen yarn is grown in France by a really cool cooperative that's using ancient agricultural techniques without any harsh chemicals to grow the flax. And then the flax is transported to Lithuania. That's actually a really, really big, especially like flax spinning country here in Europe. Wet spun into singles, and then those single plies are going back to France to be twisted in their final shape and dyed. So that's really, like, I really love it. One thing that I will say, just because I know that some of you will wonder about this, you can see me through this, right? Like, it's pretty see-through, and because it's linen, that's not going to change very much. Like, it will block out a little bit, but it will definitely have a different look than the sample, which had like a fluffy mohair in it. And you will see a little bit of skin through it, which I actually don't mind for a summer t-shirt. On the weekend I was actually looking at my favorite, so I get like all of my bras from a German company that's called Ehrlich Textil. They have like they produce sustainably produced underwear. I was looking for the words. And they actually have a really beautiful bralette in a very similar tone that I think I'm gonna get so I can wear it underneath. I think that's gonna be really pretty. Yeah. My Grassland Tee and Rerum Natura's Antigone in Marsala. So that's what's currently on my needles. I also made a little bit of progress on the pair of socks that I'm currently knitting on, but I didn't want to show more than 3 projects. I thought otherwise the podcast episode will get too long. So you'll have to wait for those. Because what I wanted to talk about also is just a sweet little acquisition that I did. I'm always thinking ahead about, what are some of the sweaters that I want to wear. And I really also I want more sweaters in my wardrobe. I feel a little bit bored by the sweaters that I currently have. I just want more and more variety. And also, if I don't rotate through the same 5 or 6 sweaters every winter, then they're probably going to hold up, because some of them really suffered is maybe not the right word, but you can definitely see that they've been worn a lot. And I don't really mind that, but I also want to be mindful that if I'm not wearing them too often, then that's also a little bit better for the fabric. I don't know if that's stupid, but anyways. A few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I went to Cologne to H&H, a big trade show for craft businesses, especially, fiber businesses. There were lots of yarn companies and mills there. I talked a little bit about this in the last episode, and I went with my dear friend Jule from Woollentwine, and Jule had brought some samples of her yarns for her discussions with spinning mills. And one of the ones that I was really excited to see in person was Jule's Heritage DK. So you might know Jule from her work as a natural dyer. She's based in Hamburg, and she dyes beautiful colors, very earthy, muted tones, really, really gorgeous, with only natural dyes, so either forage plants or things like onion skins, or with extracts. And in addition to that, she is also really good at putting together limited edition yarns. She's really quite meticulous about creating blends that work really well together, and about the sourcing of everything. And her latest limited edition is called Heritage Decay, and it's really cool because the fleeces are grown really quite close to Hamburg, where she's based, and then they're spun just over the border in Denmark to keep transport emissions low. And it's this really beautiful, warm beigey color that's just, I don't know, it reminds me of sand and beach days, and it's really, really, really nice. It's a blend of 80% Scotch mule and 20% Swedish fine wool. The sweater quantity that I got, so I completely purchased this, right? Otherwise, I obviously would have said this, but the sweater quantity that I got is in the DK weight. She also has this as a 4-ply, and I got 5 skeins of this to make a twisted vine sweater from our issue 5. It's a pattern by Joan Forgione, and it's my favorite shape. Cropped, and it has a slight V-neck and these really cool shoulders with cables that run down the sleeves. And I think that's going to be just really pretty in this yarn. So I'm very excited about that. I want to make a little bit of progress on my summer tops first, and I also have something else that I want to cast on, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Because I know that if I start swatching for this now, I probably don't want to not knit on it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the Blossom Tee, and then probably start with this and cast that on, because that feels kind of manageable. I do go through different phases. So sometimes I only have one project on the needles, like pure monogamous knitter, and then other times I have between 3 and 5 projects on the needles. which is also fine. Like, I've come to realize that I'm not one or the other. What is that then? Polyamorous knitter versus monogamous knitter? I don't even know. It just really depends on where my hat space is at right now. Like, whether, you know, I have the capacity and the energy to actually think about what I want to knit on, or whether I don't want to make that decision and just grab the one project that's on my needles. So yeah, but I feel like I have the brain space right now, so that's really nice. The last thing that I want to talk about, or the last section, is shop news. And I'm going to start this with an announcement that I already talked about in the last podcast episode, I think, but I wanted to reiterate it here. On April 28th, which is this week, Friday, if you're watching it this week, we're going to increase the prices of our Wool Dreamers Manchalopes from €7.70 to €8.50. The reason for that is that Wool Dreamers, the company behind Manchalopes, has raised their wholesale and retail prices and asked everyone to raise them accordingly. We've just gotten a restock of the colors that weren't in stock anymore, so those are still available at the old price until Friday, and then they're going to go up again. It's still a super affordable yarn, I think, and they've really tried to keep the price increase manageable, which I think they did, and they gave us a lot of heads up, which I appreciate because it gave me the chance to give you a heads up. So there's that. Wool Dreamers is launching a brand new yarn on Friday as well, on April 28th, which I'm so delighted that we get to carry. It's a lovely summer / transitional season yarn. And I've been looking for something to add. So we have the Natura Antigone, the one that you saw earlier in the web shop, which is amazing because it comes in a rainbow of colors and it's pure linen and it's great, and it's just super good. I've been wanting another yarn that lends itself to summer knits, but I've tried and tested yarns, like now the Cumbria from Pascuali, I think is really good, but nothing really caught me as much as this did, which is Wool Dreamers' new base called Sauna, and I have their shade card here, so I can tell you a little bit more about this. I want to talk a little bit about the name first. So you can see on the back of the shade card, there's this illustration of 3 people washing fleeces in a river. There's a mule cart, there's some more fleeces there, and on top it says Nuestros viajes a Sauna, our trips to sauna, essentially. And the 3 people depicted here are actually the ancestors of Oscar and Arantxa, who are running the Wool Dreamers mill now. So it's their grandfather, Julian, and his 2 sons, Teodoro and Ramon. And the river is called Sauna. And this is the river where Julian, Teodoro, and Ramon used to bring their fleeces and wash them before they would then spin them in their own family-run mill, and then weave blankets out of the yarns. So Wool Dreamers is a 4th-generation family-owned mill in Spain, and I think it's just such a great way to honor, a part of that story. And I just really, really appreciate, there's a reason we're called Making Stories, right? But I really appreciate that if it's tied in, with something of like the personal history of such an awesome company like Wool Dreamers. Sauna itself has been developed, so the yarn itself has been developed in collaboration with a really, really cool designer. Her name's Hayley Smetley, and you might know her as Ozetta, which, if you're not familiar with her work, look her up. She creates beautiful, modern garments, mostly. Really, really cool work. And I know that some of you have knit some of the things that she's done for Unspun before. And the yarn, and especially the colors in this collection, they have been worked up in collaboration with Haley. The yarn itself, sort of the tie-in there with the family history of wool dreamers is that Haley's work, Ozetta's work, is also really heavily influenced by the knitting traditions that her grandmother taught her. So I really also like how, you know, all of the folks involved in this have this common denominator of family history, rich family history with knitting and with fiber. The yarn itself is a 50%, it's a 50-50 blend. 50% of it is traceable merino and manchego wool, and 50% of it is traceable cotton. And the really special thing about this is that all of this has been grown and processed in Spain. So the merino wool and the manchego wool has been grown in Spain, but also the cotton has been grown in Spain, particularly in Andalusia, which is a province in Spain. And then it's been spun up by the wool dreamers folks. I'm really, really, really excited about this. It's a beautiful, really lightweight summer yarn, but also great, you know, for spring, for the fall. And with the 50-50 blend, it means, you know, you get the breathability of the wool, but you also get, you know, the lightness and the coolness of the cotton. And it's blended in a really nice way. So it doesn't feel rubbery or squeaky at all, which sometimes can happen. It really feels just like a lightweight wool yarn, and I'm really, really keen to get this on my needles. So it's just arrived, which is why I don't even have a swatch that I could show you. But I'm very, very curious about it. It's a fingering weight, so it comes in these 50-gram balls, which are 220 meters each. Suggested needle size is 2 to 3.5 millimeter needles, and I can totally see this being a gauge shapeshifter. So just play around with it, play around with the needles. I want to talk a tiny little bit more about sort of the blend and why I'm so excited that the cotton is grown in Spain. So cotton is one of the fibers, when you're looking at plant fibers and their sustainability, that's not great. And that's because cotton requires a lot of water for it to be grown, or like it just requires a lot of water, like a lot more than bamboo, for example. So, you know, even if it's, you know, like eco cotton, biological, organic cotton, sorry, that's the word that I was looking for, organic cotton, you know, it still requires much more water than flax or bamboo or like basically any other plant fibers that you can make yarn out of. And that's a problem because water is scarce, right? It's still one of the most common, or the most common plant fiber for us to wear, especially in like ready-made things. And if you can't really get around the problem with water consumption, so you can try and minimize the water and so on and so forth, but I think it's really important that you at least minimize other transport emissions. So you don't work with cotton that's like grown in the US and then flown to China for processing, things like that, which is why I think it's so cool that yes, it's cotton and yes, that's water intensive, but it's grown in Spain and it's processed in Spain. So everything surrounding the cotton is done with as little transport emissions as possible. So that's, in my books, just absolutely fabulous. Colors. Like, what I'm going to talk about. So we have 2, 4, 6, 7 colors. Great work, Annalisa. 7 colors of Saona All of them will be in the shop on April 28th. And I'm just going to start with the one that I'm holding in my hand. This colorway is called Fratelli, and it's a gorgeous marled light blue with flecks of darker blue. Really, really pretty. And I'm going to take its sibling to this. This is the colorway called 1984. And this is a denim blue with flecks of white in it. So, striped t-shirt, anyone? Like, just look at how cool this is. They're just so cool. Love them. I'm going to knit something, I think, out of this. Out of the darker blue for Oren. I'm going to show him all of the colors and then let him choose. I'm pretty sure he's going to pick this one. It's basically his favorite color. And I'm thinking of making him either a t-shirt or a little cardigan that he can wear in the warmer months. I'll let him choose. So those are 1984 and Fratelli. Then we have the undyed color called Notes, which is a lovely creamy white. And a delightful colorway called Ozetta, which is a slightly colder, natural, like white, blended in with a little bit of gray. We have Sari Chef, which is, I'm just going to hold them like this so you can see them, how they're like together, which is a beige, a warmer colorway. And then we have Guthrie, which in the neutrals is the darkest of them all, a dark beige gray. So kind of in the same color family like Ozetta, just darker. Hello, there we go. And here are Notes and Sari Chef together. So those are the warmer ones. Last but not least, we also have a really, really lovely light green called Grün. So this is a beautiful sagey green with flecks of white. I think they're all amazing. Like, they're really, really pretty. And I mean, I already liked the colors when I saw them on the pictures, but the pictures don't do the depth justice. So they're really lovely and deep and yeah, just really, really pretty. I'm really happy about them. So these will be in the shop on Friday, April 28th. There's not going to be a special pre-release for the collective this time around because that's the official launch date of the yarn for all of the stockists. So whenever that happens, we can't do a pre-launch to the collective. So it's going to be available on the 28th, probably around 9ish in the morning to everyone in the web shop. That's everything from me today. I hope you liked this sweet little episode, a glimpse on what's on my needles. I would love to hear what's on your needles again. So, you know, if you feel comfortable sharing, do leave us a comment down below. I'm always really, really curious. And if you, if you like this episode, forward it to a friend or two, hit the subscribe button. And I hope to see you again here in 2 weeks. Bye.